Now it says we are live. So let me check on YouTube again. This is funny. Not yet. Yes, we are. Okay. Charge. Yes, we are live. Sorry about that, guys. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good something. You're watching this live or not, I don't know. So, whatever time of the day you're watching this, hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. And as usual, before I introduce my guest, my public service announcement. Wear your fucking mask. Save lives. It's not about you. If you're an idiot, that's your problem. You want to die? Screw you. That's your life. But I worry much more about the people you can get killed if you don't use the mask. The elder, the kids, some family members, some dear friend. If you don't use your mask, they're not safe, even if you believe they are. So please wear your mask. And if you don't want to wear your mask, you can leave this place now because I don't want you here if you like to, kill people. With that said, in my usually polite way, hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are things in your area? How are things in Toulouse? Is everything okay? You want to kill somebody? Somebody wants to kill you? No, seriously, how's things around you? Is the situation getting any better or is still crazy?
It's. I guess it's still crazy. It's the same in the whole Europe, but there's hope. We don't know. The thing is, in France, as probably it's the same in Spain, all the younger cities, I mean younger in terms that they have a lot of young populations, will obviously have a higher rate of infection. The disease is higher here. But I mean, compared to the US, we're pretty safe.
Yeah, I'd say so. Oh, what is the thing you miss the most? I mean, imagine I'm your doctor. I come with this syringe, shoot you, and say, "All is good. We have a vaccine. We're free. Out with you. I don't want a home. I don't want you home. Fuck off. Go. Have fun." What's the first thing you would do?
Well, it's it wasn't that big a difference to me because of my life. We worked home, and it's not a huge difference. But still, obviously, conventions and stuff like that, when where we can see your pairs and the fans and everything, and also, it's terrible to see all the shops closed, all the people struggling to make a living right now. So it's probably a general mood that I miss, the mood of having people feeling safe and happy.
Do you remember the last movie you went to the theater to watch before this?
Not really, because I gave up going to movies a long time ago, mostly because of the noise and stuff and people not behaving. Probably Rogue One. Oh no, probably the Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. How is people? Well, I was gonna say something that is not polite, but yeah, I agree with you. People is not polite in the cinema, so that's the reason I prefer to go in the mornings. In matinees when there's not a lot less people, and you don't find that you want to kill somebody every 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's the same here. They have their phone and they talk to each other and kind of trying to be the center of attention, which is not the point of
Nope.
going to movies.
Nope, no, it's not. What is that? What you like to do in your time off? When which is, I know, very very small, but what is what you like to do? Like to refresh your mind, to clean your head.
Now, as you said, it's a tough question because when you're working on a comic book, you don't have that much time off.
You can say it. That luxury.
yeah. But well, there's stuff that I grew into, but I wasn't a big fan of, which is going online and checking stuff. But it's not really something I like to do as much as not working. And but it's still it allows you to keep in touch with your friends, especially the ones who are living in foreign countries and stuff like that. So, other than that, going out with my wife, because we live in an area in Toulouse where all the big gardens are, so we can relax and go by the tree, and we have also a huge canal. So it's probably the stuff I like to do the most. Just walking. Also, I have two cats, and I love to play with them because they're so cute and so nice. So it's always nice to, give them the life they would have in the wild. You try to do the best you can. So I spend a lot of time with them, or they spend a lot of time with me. Especially now that we moved in a new apartment, so they are pretty stressed right now. It's a difficult time right now, especially now because I had to close the door, and they can't get in. So
you can let them in. It's okay.
You say that, but
they're cats. I know what they're gonna do. They will jump on the screen and all that and stuff. It's not the first time I have people with cats here showing their butt on screen. My dog is very behaved, and especially because I just took him out. In the heat to run. Now he's in somewhere like a. Just like this. That's what he needed.
How's the weather like?
He's 29.
I mean, oh yeah, okay. The
29,
weather?
29 degrees, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
How is it for you?
No, it's about the same.
Yeah.
I was thinking it would be worse in Barcelona.
It normally is, but we are 29 now, so I don't want what we had like 2 weeks ago, 33, 34. But that's okay. It's not my favorite. In Galicia, we were there the beginning of this month, and it was like 21, 22, 25 tops. It's a peninsula. Coruña, my hometown, is a peninsula in the middle of the fucking Atlantic Ocean. So it's every time you have wind, it's cool wind.
Yeah.
So the sensation is, even if you're 23, like you're 20. So it's every time you're like, oh my god, this is heaven. And then it starts raining, and people are like, oh, it rains. I'm like, I love it. Give me 20 degrees and rain. Don't give me 34. Humidity. That's like what we have here. You have 29 now, but the sensation is much worse because the humidity is hot.
Yeah.
So it makes it worse. I guess the same for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but we don't have the ocean or the sea right by.
Well, but you're close. You can come at any time. Well, not now, but you know what I mean. Why? Of course, you come from a country that has a really, 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 really strong comic culture.
Oh yeah.
BD, bande dessinée, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Why American comics? Why did you decide? I don't want to stay in my field. I want to play in the visitors field.
It's mostly because I grew up reading American comics. Of course, I was also reading like Tintin or Asterix or Spirou, which is the stuff that we are born with in France. But pretty quickly, I discovered Marvel and was addicted. There's something with the serial format that really hooked me. And then I became a huge fan of the artists, and everything else tastes like crap compared to the candy that is a Marvel comic book. So of course, when I grew up, I began to read more adult French comics, discovering French artists like Moebius or people like that. And Olivier Vatine was huge, and still is. Still, I'm a huge fan of his. All these guys had kind of a international vibe to their work, so it talked to me. There's lots of people that came after Olivier who were also very influenced by the American comics, like Claire Wedling or Mathieu Loffred, Denis Bajram. All these guys I was a big fan of But still, comics, American comics was really the dream. But by then, only Moebius and Olivier Vatine did American comics. Moebius did the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Olivier Vatine did Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was very rare. It was impossible to imagine that a French artist would do a career there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do French comics. But pretty quickly, it became possible thanks to internet. Internet. You show your work, and the editors get in touch. I was lucky because Rick Remender was starting at the same period, and he saw my work online and offered me to do a backup story for Fear Agent, and it started all. Based on that story, that Fear Agent story, most of the publishers in the US offered me work. So it was a dream. It was crazy because, working for Marvel and stuff, it was really impossible for a French guy before that.
And what was your favorite candy? You called the creators candy. What was your favorite candy when you were growing up?
Well, you know my age. So I grew up reading X-Men by Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Paul Smith, all that kind of stuff, and Frank Miller on Daredevil. All this stuff was crazy, and even more because comics matured, grew up with us readers at this time. It was in the 80s. You saw Frank Miller going from doing mainstream superhero comics to basically doing kind of underground comics, for major publishers. And there was Howard Chaykin doing its stuff, Alan Moore, obviously, all these guys. So we grew up with the comics that we liked. It was a crazy period, and I'm thinking, the younger audience. I mean, everything was there before they started, but being there when it happened, it was crazy. You remember that, right?
Of course I do. Of course I do. We're more or less the same age, so yes, I do. I grew up with all of that too. Do you think when you're thinking in your head, consciously or unconsciously, is there a blend of what the two worlds of the bande dessinée art, American comics art, that you try to input into your work, or it just comes out because that's what you grew up with?
A little bit of both. For a long time, it was very difficult to reconcile the two of them, especially when I was, building my style. When I was younger, it was very, very difficult because, especially in France, comics were looked down. They were not as revered as French comics. So it was difficult, and even with the styles, there's so much stuff in common, but people they don't see it, they don't know. Basically, you had Milton Caniff, which influenced the two schools in a big way.
Absolutely.
In France, you have Giger and Giraud, who took the ball in one direction. In the US, you have the other direction with Buscema and all these guys and Toth and everything you can see until until Neil Adams and all these guys. So there's always bridges, but still it was difficult for me to see that. But people started to be with their work to be the bridges. Like I said, Olivier Vatine or Claire Wedling, but also Mike Mignola. You could see his work, and he's American, but could very easily be a European artist. Also, people like Alan Davis, who you would think he's a purely mainstream superhero artist, but in his style, you can see Fratera, you can see all sorts of English influences like Frank Hansen or Frank Bellamy, all that kind of stuff. And when it happened, and I began to see it.
Jesus Blasco.
Yeah, sure,
He told me
absolutely.
when I invited him last year, and I told him, when he couldn't do it to Madrid, I
Mhm.
told him that we have one of the awards named after Jesus Blasco, and he literally said he was my biggest influence. He's
Mhm.
I love this. So he has Spanish comics, Argentinian comics, British comics. I think that's what makes him so special. He's like the perfect blend of all schools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're not even talking about like Bernie Wrightson and all these guys, But this is to me, Alan was important because he was a mainstream superhero artist, and I could see that he was also draining some of that stuff in his work. Um, so in the mirror, you had someone like Georges Bess, who's a
Mhm.
French artist who was working with Jodorowsky, and in the same way, I could see Joe Kubert, I could see all that sort of stuff
Mhm.
in his work, influences, and so it was very helping to me. Nowadays, it's very different. To me, it's the same. I can see some stuff that would not work in one industry or another, but to me, I when it's Darwin could have happened in France or
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah, it's more. I think we're in a. We've been for years, but especially now, I think American comics stopped being American a long time ago. I mean, it's
Mm,
global. It's if you count the number of international creators, artists, of course, among
mm,
above all, but the number of international artists that are working in American comics. Most people in the US doesn't know.
mm.
They don't even care that, and they don't have to. Where is that guy from? But if you start accounting, I believe like 80-90% of the artists are not Americans.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
You
But
know.
that and also the references are because of the internet. Now we can check everything. So whether your country is your French, Spanish, or anything, if you want to do a pirate story, you will check NC Wyatt or Howard Pyle. So all these references are the same for everybody now.
Mhm.
It used to be difficult. I remember people looking at Moebius like he was an alien, or because they didn't know his influences. But now, even the American and everybody have access to that stuff. So it's a major difference. Like check someone like Adam Hughes. Adam Hughes has probably more foreign influences in his style than
Mhm.
American influences. Even though, of course, Norman Rockwell is a big influence, but you can see Musha, and you can see all that kind of artwork, even French comic book stuff that he really likes, and you can see that his style would work perfectly for a French book.
Yeah, and Frank has a lot. Miller has a lot of. You can see the Argentinian comics influences. You can see a lot of the Japanese comic influences. As soon as he grew up as an artist and he was visiting, discovered Lone Wolf and Cub. It's
Yeah,
so
well,
it's obvious when you
pretty
see
obvious. Yeah, yeah.
oh, he discovered that, or you see Mort Cinder by Alberto Breccia. You can see it in 300, especially
Mhm.
the rain and the use of black and white. You see that he kept adding international comics influences to his work,
Yeah,
which made it, I don't know if more underground, as you said, but it made it a lot more appealing, a lot more personal, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, even in the technical process, having a real painter doing the coloring, that's something that he saw elsewhere, and he realized that American will need that. American comics will need that to look that good.
Hmm.
It was kind of a revolution to have people like Lena Wally or Richmond Lewis doing coloring, painting colors in comics. It was probably what made the U.S. comics um, come out as a serious media in France.
Yeah.
Before that, it was those ugly colors and stuff. But with Watchmen, with Dark Knight, with all this stuff, we began to take it seriously here.
Yeah, yeah, no. And same with Chiarello first, and then
Yeah.
David
Wow.
Stewart coloring Mignola.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just that was put in the. This is where we are going. This is where we want what we want to do.
Mm.
What we want you guys to see. It was, uh, not many people remembers Legend. That semi brand they had.
Yeah.
But what they did there, in terms of, we want adults to read this, we want people to look at comics in a different way. It was a big leap, because it was the same time that Image was doing their thing, which is fine. But that group of people, and some others, but that group of people, Frank Mignola, Bernie Lesaway, Arthur, etc., were saying, "Hey guys, we want you to look at our comics in a different way. There's an audience there that we want to reach, right?"
And they did it.
They did. And for you, why did you decide to do comics? I guess there's always the same part. You grew up reading them, as you said before. You loved them as a kid, but you have the field of choices. You have array of choices. I mean, you have animation, storyboarding, blah blah blah. Why did you say the comics is what I want to do?
It's probably a very immature answer, but because of the characters. I was so fond of those characters. They probably are my best memories from my childhood. So being able to draw them, to be one of the guys who make them alive and keep their adventures, it was one of the biggest treat of the whole thing. Of course, the mature answer would be I was into storytelling. It's one thing to draw, but it's another thing to do sequential art. It's really where the fun is. You can draw as pretty as you want. If you're not a good storyteller, you won't make it in comics. And very quickly, you fall in love with that aspect of things. The rest is work, but storytelling is the biggest fun you can have. There's no limits to what a comic book artist can do visually. So it's never the end. It's also always the beginning of something new, unless you struggle with the deadlines. But in a ideal world, you can always grow and always discover new things to do. Not even reading other stuff, but just working and pushing your boundaries. So animation and all this stuff is also very interesting. I don't want to dismiss the other jobs, but it's when you're doing a comic book, you can just pretty much be on your own and create everything, from pacing to a big scope of a large background, and you create emotion. You create pretty much everything. Time. You're the master of the universe. When you work in animation or other kind of industries, it's more of a team job. You work with. It cannot exist without a lot of people. So comic book, it's pretty unique.
Yeah, but as you were saying, that you can just said it before I started with that part of my question, which is you are the guy who does the score, you are the guy who directs, you are the director of photography, not the writer, but of course you affect the writing because it's your decisions in terms of the storytelling that also affects the story. So you are like the big manipulator, right?
Yeah, the puppet master.
Yeah.
Basically, obviously, if you're not the writer, it's also a team job. But you, with your writer, you became one entity. If things go well.
Yeah. As I always talk, the fabled synergy, right?
Yeah, sure. No, that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. It's not a struggle. You don't fight the writer. You kind of became the same entity in that you have the same interest. You want to create emotion, which is basically the only thing we do. We want to, fake emotion.
Yeah, and that's also a big difference between American comics and French comics, right? French comics are more about showing you the stuff, showing you the landscape, description. And I would say French comics are descriptions, when American comics is all about the emotion, right?
Yeah, well, French comics done right, again, it's also emotion, but in a very different way. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's like putting a distance with the camera.
Yeah.
You put more distance. But if you look like someone like Herman,
Yeah.
you look at his work, and it's very contemplative, and it's very like you said, he loves to draw moods, backgrounds, and stuff like that. But he creates tons of emotion doing so. It's true that it's not on the character. It's not focused on the character like American comics is. American comics is mostly known to be in your face, especially after Kirby. Before that, it was different, but after Kirby, it became really in your face in the best way possible. French comics, of course, has been influenced by American comics by now, and manga. So there's still a difference, like you said. There's still a difference, but probably less and less.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the same way that American comics have been influenced by French comics and manga. It's a global world right now. It's not only American comics. You can see a lot of Spanish artists with influences by. At the same time, you can see the influence of Kirby, Mobius, and Otomo. And people are like, what? All three at the same time? Yeah. Kenny Reed, for example, or Kenny Reed in Spain. You can see a complete influences of all three different comics. You can see it all around. And right now, I don't think it's. Let me know if you agree. I don't think it's finding where your style comes from is as important as getting to a blend of all the different cultures, because that's where we are. It's a global world. And you don't want to be the French guy or the Spanish guy or the American guy. You just want to read everything that falls into your hands, absorb, and from there, whether you like it or not, you become a new artist, right?
For sure, yeah. That being said, what built you, like your DNA, will always stay with you. So even though I read American comics and manga and stuff, I keep having people going to me at conventions and talking to me and saying that there's something strange in my work compared to any American, and most of the time it comes from probably what we talked about, distancing the camera, or having weird coloring, or stuff like that. I'm sure Acuna must have the same kind of
at the beginning. It was absolutely hate. It was because this guy doesn't belong in American comics. What is he doing? Jimmy and Didio stood up for him then. Buckley and Marvel, and with time, people and now they love him. He considered what he should be, which is one of the best in comics. But at the beginning, it was. I still have some of the emails and some of the stuff, and it was like, oh my god, they hate him. But I knew it was a matter of time. It's like. It's gotta be accepted, and he came at the right time when those doors were torn down, were being torn down by everybody else. Probably 10 years before, he wouldn't have lasted. But it's again, Danny is like that. It's a huge blend of things.
Absolutely,
that became his own, with, as you said, with the coloring. Especially his own.
He was very smart to not let it go.
Absolutely, and also because at the beginning. We had with him Javi Montes. I don't know if you know him, the colorist, which is a very good colorist. But the plan from the beginning was, when I can, I'm going to color myself. But of course, at the beginning, DC didn't want him to. They want him to have another colorist, because that's not the way they did things, and also because they didn't trust him he would be able to do it on time.
Of course.
But after he finished, or even I think at the last two issues of Freedom Fighters, he started coloring himself, and from that point on, he never let go. And Jesus said the same thing for a lot of years. He had to, first he had an inker, so he had to carve that space to become his own. Then he had to carve his own space to become his own colorist. And but the moment he started, instead for deadlines that are impossible to do, from that point on, it's like no, I'm covering myself.
Mm.
Period. So it was a process. It was a process. As I said, you have to get them used to things that they are not used to. That's simple.
Of course, yeah, and you have to find a sympathetic editor too, because they don't always see the value of having your own coloring. I mean, as you said, it's pretty new to them, so I can understand why. And also, there's a matter of deadline. So
Yeah, but at the same time, the working methods in America have been changing. It's not same artist every month. You can change by arcs, which was something that during Axel's time, it was Marvel. It started with Joe, but then with Axel, it was really clear that each book was going to have a couple rotating art teams, so the guys could do it in their own time, which helped a lot. Because they accepted, if he can do it on the time we give him, he can color himself.
yeah.
Right. You talked about, well, a question first by Angel Perez. I'm seeing here, Mr. Renaud, because you were talking about the characters. Mr. Renaud, which is your favorite Dynamite character to draw? Which is your favorite Dynamite character?
Dynamite. I drew so many. It's difficult to say because I mean they had back then when I was doing covers, they had Tarzan, they had Flash Gordon, they had Deja Thorry, they had everybody. So if I had one favorite, probably Tarzan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, because I was a bigger fan of Flash Gordon, but when I started to work on him, something strange happened. I was not as relieved I thought I would be to be able to do it at last. So it was kind of disappointing to me because I was not up to the task in my own eyes. But with Tarzan, I had a lot of fun drawing the background, especially the forest, the jungle, which is one of the biggest bonus you can have with those kind of characters is that they don't come alone. they have a like visual gimmicks and stuff that you can always use. So also I have to say Deja Thorry was very fun to work with because I was listening to the audiobooks while I was working on it, so it was fun to do it. And there are so many great artists that had done great Deja Thorry's incarnation. I remember I used it was like a mix of Campbell version of her and Adam Hughes, which was very close with the jewelry and stuff. It was also the references that they sent me, but I tried to kind of make it work based on those two influences. And I did like 30 covers of her. But still, it was really, really fun to do. I could do more with her.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. That I thought that you were going to say that your favorite was Deja Thorry's because that's the ones that I saw. You were having more fun,
Yeah. Because it's you can throw everything in those kind of illustration. You can have some Oriental influences. You can have pretty much everything. You have old guns or old swords. There's no limits to what you can do with that kind of stuff. John Carter is always something that I think about when I'm thinking, what could I do if I had freedom to do my own graphic novel or stuff. So many have done it, obviously. So, but still, I could.
Yeah, I think John Carter is such an amazing territory to explore.
And I love the movie.
I love the movie too. I think that it was really unfairly treated, and it was all. If you search the old story, it was politics. It was the new guy at Disney literally trying to swipe everything that the old guy did under the rug. So the promotion was bad in purpose, and that thing about not calling, just calling him George Carter. It's like, no, nobody's gonna care. Just call it
I
Model
know.
of Mars. But we added in the end. No, it's not fucking James Bond. Where everybody knows James Bond. So you add, by the end of Casino Royale, you add the 007, and you don't
Yeah.
have music until the end of the movie where he puts the gun like this, because he's telling you, the movie has been him becoming 007.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in this case, it's John Carter. Nobody knows John Carter except the ones who've read the books. So you just put Warlord of Mars at the beginning, and people's going to say, "Oh, that looks interesting."
Mm.
So, but anyway, would you like to do a Tarzan story written and drawn by you?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, yeah. There's so many stuff. I had some at some point. I was thinking about doing Zorro. Retelling of the. But nowadays, everybody wants to do that because it's public domain. So, you'd better create your own thing right now because, there's gonna be a great Tarzan soon by a French publisher. So,
Who's doing it?
the publisher.
No, the team, the creators.
I don't remember who the artist. I think there's two of them because it's two books. But it's Christophe Beck
Yeah.
doing the story, and he's a very good one, very famous artist writer himself. But in this instance, he's like the art director and writer.
I want to see that. Javier Merino also asked, since we're in the character thing, hi, I like your work on Marvel. Which DC character would you like to work with?
DC? I guess Batman.
I was going to say you can't say Batman, but you work with because everybody says Batman.
Back then when I was a kid, DC was very poorly distributed in France. So I don't have the same kind of love that I have for Marvel. Obviously, I began to read that stuff when my favorite artists and writers began to work for DC, like Frank Miller, of course, or Steve Rude, people like that.
Yeah, John Byrne doing Superman.
Yeah, sure. So I started to read, and I love most of that stuff and a lot of their biggest sagas. But still, except for the big ones, the big characters, I don't know that much of the DC universe. My biggest introduction to DC was probably Bruce Timm's DC animated universe, which was great because he pretty much doubled with everything in the DC universe. So, each time I talk to DC and there's an opportunity to do something, I've been busy and not able to do it, except for a few covers. But yeah, probably Batman or Wonder Woman also. I would love to do that.
Yeah, Javier Merino asked, what about Flash?
Flash would be interesting visually because of what you can do with the speed, especially if I can do it in color, it would be interesting. So yeah, definitely.
But Flash, that's what I'm going to add. That Flash would be mostly interesting for you if you can color it, right? To play,
absolutely.
To play with the speed, to play with with the, organic part of it, and also the part where you can distort around and play with crazy colors, right?
Yeah. That's one of the thing I wanted to say too about the coloring is there's some projects that you will accept or turn down based on what you can do. Some characters like Flash I wouldn't do in black and white. If they just ask me to draw it and ink it, I would say no. But in colors, yeah, could be interesting. I have instinctual ideas.
Yeah, because it's telling you anything. It's the same thing, I guess, that if they tell you do Wonder Woman and you are like, okay, can I do Themyscira? Can I do that part? Yes, I want to do it because I want to color it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not the same as Wonder Woman is in Metropolis. Like, I don't care. It's the same. It's New York again and again. But I can move her out. I can take her to somewhere where I can go crazy with the colors and have fun, right?
Yeah. You can bring so much with the coloring. You can put emphasis, and you can uh, all the what I like to do most of the time is you get your big opening, the big first page, and if you can go with the very strong light effect on a very detailed background, uh, it's a win
Mhm.
most of the time.
How much of a narrative storytelling tool is coloring for you?
Well, first of all, coloring is the first thing that you see when you look at a page, so it's very important. I would say that it's interesting because this is what I miss when I don't do the coloring. My work is can can get pretty generic when I don't do my own coloring, because I will fix things with the coloring. Uh, I like to do like a very traditional storytelling, and then uh, pervert it with the coloring and create different moods. But the storytelling in black and white will look kind of low profile most of the time. So it's a very tricky situation when I plan to do my own coloring, and at the last minute they tell me I won't be able to do it. It's always very tricky because I'm like, whoa, it's gonna be ugly. you know, Most of my intention were coloring based. So it's
Yeah, because you think in color.
yeah,
You don't think the pages in black and white. You think in color. You think
sure,
about the
sure.
mood. You think about the atmosphere. You think
Mhm.
about I can slow you, stop you in a second with just
Yeah,
point of
absolutely,
color where I'll tell you I stop there with the coloring. And if you don't have the control on that,
absolutely. But even the artwork itself, you finish it in coloring.
yeah,
You shape it, you mold it, you create the light and stuff. So sometimes without the coloring it looks like it's clumsy or unfinished, um, except when you get a great colorist and he gets into your mind. But most of the time these poor colorists have less time than I do, so they just do a great work, but it's not like it's not like rendering or digital painting, and I can absolutely understand that. Um, so it's
and
very, very important, and it's a very crucial question for every artist. The coloring part of it is like the most painful thing that will happen to you when you're working comics. Um,
yeah, especially when you put a light source in there and the colorist puts in on the other side.
yeah, stuff like that, for sure, for sure. That's why you kind of work with the people you know, because you can trust them. It's always it's very rewarding to see someone take the ball and take it in different direction, but in a very good way.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not a control freak at all. I like, I'm okay to see someone do his or her thing, um, as long as it's good. you know. But sometimes it's just a matter of you get a great colorist and he will do a very poor job, mostly because of time.
yeah, yeah, and also because they can't be in your head. I
For
mean,
sure, yeah.
the way you see color in your head on that page, I'm sorry, it's never going to be like the guy. He has his own way of.
Sometimes it is. I mean, when you get Laura Martin, she gets
Oh, yes,
into
yes.
your head.
You get like okay, you get Lara Martin. If you get David Stewart, if you get the bigger names,
There's crazy monsters like that. Yeah,
they do because they're amazing. But at the same time, it's because they're geniuses. No, but what I mean is that most of the times, with the exception of geniuses, again, what they do, even with the geniuses, what they do is going to be their thing. But of course, their thing is so good that you say, okay, shut up, just do it, But
sure.
in some cases, you see it and it's like, this is not what I wanted. And it's impossible that it is. You cannot be every 5 seconds telling the chorus, no, 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 this is not what I wanted. Right?
Well, unless you work with the colorist. I'm working with Stefan Petro,
In your case, that's, yeah, I was going to say.
who's a good friend, and I know his work, and so it's a better process because he allows me to do little touch-ins and stuff. So to tweak the coloring, and he's very understanding about my frustration, and I'm so glad. He's really a joy to work with, and I guess it's something that I could do on more regular basis, because it's totally okay that it's not what was in my mind, as long as I can save the most crucial aspects of it, and the rest is just bonus. It's just what it brings on the table is great.
Yeah. Do you think the color should be always about the mood, always about the structure in a way that descriptive to
Yeah,
tell the reader where to go, or emphasis is again on emotion?
it's always about mood and emotion. It can be aesthetically rewarding. It can be pretty, for sure, but looking at something pretty creates emotion. So it's um, the the risk is to forget yourself and only do pretty, for sure.
Yeah.
And the risk when you're an artist carving its own work, the risk is to be only on the fixing mode. So, you know what I mean? That this drawing is not that good. I'm gonna fix it. But it's the danger is, if the panel is not that important, and you put too much work in it, it's gonna hurt the story and the reading. So you have to put your ego on the side and accept that some stuff must stay simple in order to make the rest pop.
Do you ever hear the colors? Do you think of them as sounds?
Yeah, music, sure. I mean, music in the way that it's create a narrative. It creates it links everything. The artwork can do that. Line work can do that, of course, especially with the best artists. You don't need coloring to appreciate someone like I don't know, Bruce Timm, or Steve Rood, or Paul Smith, or Alan Davis, because their work is like a symphony
Yeah.
of shapes and stuff. But for us mortals, the coloring will play that role, because there's nothing like merging everything into one tone, and then having little stuff pop up here and there. That creates first thing, it creates a layout design, but then you can like play chords and have something pops up, and another thing here and there, and based on the frequency, based on the number of times you use them, it will create a rhythm, a pacing.
It's also a matter of, in a way, it's math, right? It's mathematics.
Yeah, well, in a dumb way for me, yeah.
No, but it is. Even if it's instinctual, there's two things that it's always science and arts for me, and there's two things that are always related to the final look of a comic book, which is math is one of them, and the other one is always about how can I say it? How you can make it sing. You are like composing a song, as you said, with the music, and you can go Bach, which is everything is very mathematical, and then you can go crazy and go Chopin.
You should talk to that with Yannick Paquette.
I've talked about that with Yannick,
Right.
about the music and about all the science parts and how he determines.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
All that. I always see that's. I'm always talking about Einstein and the relativity. How comics defy relativity, as you know. But I also go with the music part, because I think they were called arts and sciences, schools of arts and sciences for a reason, because they are the two sides of the same coin.
Sure, sure.
And math is a big part of music, and math is also a big part of but no, I was saying math, and the other part is sorry, I didn't say, is pattern recognition.
Mm.
So if you can, the patterns as a colorist, as an artist, that the human brain is going to recognize, even instinctually.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Put it there, and automatically the brain is going to react to them. Just
Yeah.
a big splash of red is saying danger, and that's where you're gonna put it, right?
No, for sure. Well, the analogy that I would make, more than math, it would be like clockwork engineering.
Yeah, engineering.
It's really like that, because you know what sort of things, what sort of coloring or coloring harmonies will create, as far as emotions. So you know that stuff, and you use them to build something, to build something to your big reveal, or biggest emotion or action, or anything you want to do. So it's just tools, that and it sometimes can be very tight and precise. It's so difficult to explain everything in English. I know you feel the same, because you're Spanish and I'm French, and we are used to build our thoughts in different language.
I'm trying to explain this with feelings, in a way. I'm trying to get from the math and all that to the feelings. You just said harmony, and in my head I was thinking, yes, it's about the harmony, but it's also for you when to know how to kill that harmony and become and make it into chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
When you make it into chaos is when you get the reader by surprise,
Sure.
and automatically, oh my god, the reaction you were going for is what you get, because you took him in with that symphony, as you said, this, and then suddenly, boom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. It's just a matter of emphasize and neutralize.
Yes. You can say it that way. Angel says, if you can tell us, can you tell us what you're working on now? Are you doing interiors again? I really loved your works. Loved your work in Secret War Zero. I still think you are perfect for the Fantastic Four.
Well, I can't say what I'm working on, but funnily enough, kind of answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
But since the pandemic, most of the projects that were not already scheduled are on hold, and the projects I'm doing is on hold. So basically, I'm doing covers right now, and I'm also trying to do an art book, prepare work for an art book. That's why I'm doing so many Copic stuff right now. Having such a great time, which is one of the best things that happened during the pandemic to me, is going back to traditional artwork, to paper.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was amazing, really. I didn't know I missed that so much. So I got into that Copic thing, the markers.
Are you going to go back to digital, or right now you're like, shit, I'm loving it too much to leave it?
Nah, I'm loving it too much. It's gonna be difficult. I'm thinking about going traditional, even for the published work. But I must be professional. I must be fair to my editor. So that's gonna be the main question. Am I able to do that stuff on a deadline? I'm pathology. Pardon. Sorry. I'm crazy with deadline fears, so I won't take a risk. That being said, I would sure like to do it. So I'm moving in that direction with the covers. That's a given. I'm doing that I already started to do that. And I wanted to create my own graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to do that. So I will have everything done traditionally in Copic.
Let me see. Ivan FR Hello, hola, salud. About colors, I love the Jason Aaron run in Thor with Matthew Wilson. Uh, Paul, what do you think of his coloring?
Of Matthew Wilson, he's one of the greatest colorists right now.
He-
He's doing the colors for Mahmoud, right, on Conan.
yes, yes,
That's amazing, really. And that's someone who's he's good and also very smart because he knows how to adapt to the artist he's working with. So to me, that's the best colorist possible. Someone who's smart enough to enhance the style and direction that the artist already started. Um, all the Conan that he did, this work is absolutely splendid.
yeah. He worked with Jesus Saith on Swamp Thing too. After
Yeah.
Matt Collinsworth had to leave the book, and that was imagine having Matt Collinsworth and then Matthew Wilson.
Oh yeah,
So
there's worse. Yeah.
and then Jesus could color himself, so it was all amazing. Murphy Dog, Paul. Paul could be perfect on any project. Loving the copy work. What's up, David? I know who you are, Murphy Dog, but I can't. I'm not sure. So let me know who you are. Because I know that name, but I am not. My mind is shit like now. My brain is shit. Ivan Efer, and not only Wilson, there are many good ones in Thor. Well,
Yeah.
in general, we have many good colors. What is the thing that you haven't done yet in terms of your artwork that you would like to do next? Or when times allow, you just said about going back to the pencil, but I'm talking about the next step for you in terms of the art that you would like to try to do.
Well, the next thing would be not the art, but the writing. I would like to write my own material, very much so. I mean, I love working with writers, especially when the writer is Alan Davis, obviously. But it's always a joy. I mean, working with Alan or Rick Remender, all these guys that I like to work with. It's always challenging, in a good way, but it also raises questions as far as what you would do if you could do your own full-time storytelling. All good things brings also frustrations, and it's normal. With time, I mean, you have to give yourself answers about those things. So I've been working on a story for a couple of years, and I really want to do it. It's just a matter of finding the time. And so probably, in the years to come, I'm hoping soon enough, I will probably do a crowdfunding or something, and try to talk to Image or and do my thing. I already have everything broken into a number of issues, or maybe a full graphic novel. I don't know yet. I need to do that. It's always I've always been interested in artists doing all the things they love in one project, like Dave Stevens did Rocketeer. Or you can see that it brings something different to the mix, or even Moebius, of course. One could say that they prefer when he works with other artists, but still it creates something unique, especially in the language, the storytelling. When John Byrne started to write his own stories, when Alan wrote his own stories, you can see that their brain works 100% toward the goal they have, and it's, at least to my eyes, always better than what they could do with other people. I know it's not a shared opinion about everybody, but still, it's it's the same thing with Loisel, French artist who did Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Peter Pan was great. He did the Quest of the Time Bird before that, which is one of the biggest fantasy book here. And then he started to adapt his own version of Peter Pan, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic the work he did, and people he grew as an artist thanks to that. So this is my goal. I think there's stuff I need to get out and do my own story, and would probably make me a better artist.
And how would Paul the artist accept working with Paul the writer?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same as being an artist and colorist. You know, I know that the colorist is probably the boss of the artist that I am. So no, I think my goal will be storytelling as far as.
Live streaming is on.
We're back. Sorry, YouTube has that 1 hour mark that some idiot put in there this week. You were saying, Paul, sorry.
What I was, no, I'm thinking writing my own story would be probably dealing with the visual storytelling, which is neither being an artist or a writer. It's just in between. This is the stuff that I want to work with, especially since I want to do like it's kind of detective story, but in a gothic fantasy world. So the storytelling itself, the visual, pacing will be very, very important. So.
And do you think you'll ever leave comics, so that is you're going to be there with them forever?
I know I plan to be with them forever, but I hope they agree. No, it's I don't see myself doing anything else. I mean, when you say comics, you say the industry or the interior work?
You choose.
I mean, I can see myself doing illustrations and stuff like that. It's also very interesting. I mean, I've been doing commissions, and I forgot how much I love it, because commission it's different from doing a cover. You can do a full illustration. So. I could do that, and again, growing up, I was a huge fan of the studio. These four guys: Jeff Jones and Bernie Wrightson, Kaluta, Barry Winsor-Smith, and obviously, when they decided to go a full illustration, it made them better artists, way better artists. So there's value into taking time to create. Just drawing, working on the drawing, working on illustrations. You can put so much more work into the pictures than you do on comics, even covers. So that stuff I could do. I could spend some more time. I would love to learn to paint. I mean, look at what the stuff J.G. Jones is doing. He's such a master.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love. He has to. Jeff, you have to teach me.
We know where you live. So storytelling first or illustration first? Let me go with the tricky question now.
Storytelling first, always.
So you want to tell stories above everything else?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the drive. This is what we do. At least to me, I mean, you could say that drawing an illustration tells a story, so it's always storytelling. But sequential storytelling, for someone who grew up reading comics, it's always magical. It's such a euphorical feeling to be able to create something out of several tiny parts. They don't exist by their own, but as a page, you create something. You create the illusion of time, movement, everything. So it's that stuff. It's like being a magician. Being an illustrator, if you're a good one, you will create magic. You will, but to me, it's more into this, the pleasure of shaping stuff, creating a logic or composition. That stuff creates pleasure to me.
So it's in a way it's about creating a world.
Well, that's the difference between the process of doing an illustration, creating pleasure, and the idea of creating storytelling, creating pleasure. So you have the idea versus the process.
Yeah.
To me, this is where I find my pleasure, doing both.
Okay.
But still, when you think about it, the idea will always win.
Yes.
Because you can think about it even when you're not working on it. The illustration is different. I mean, I don't want to do an illustration. Only when I'm doing it, I will take pleasure.
Absolutely. So, by the way, Murphy Dog is one mutual friend that was with us in Sweden.
Sorry, Will?
I don't know if he wants me to say the name, but Murphy Dog is an artist who was with us in Sweden, who remember that we gave him a lot of toys and he had them in his table.
All right, yeah.
Okay, so now you know.
I know who he is, yeah.
And if you want to say your name, I don't want to say it in case you don't want, because you're not saying it. So you know who it is.
Because it's a shame to be here.
Yes, he should be, of course. Ivan FR says, Detective Gothic Fantasy, what about doing that comic in European comics?
Which one, sorry?
The ones you were saying before, the Detective Gothic Fantasy. He's asking, what about doing that in European comics?
Yeah, sure. I'm mostly known for the international market, for the US market. So it would make sense to do, if I do a crowdfunding, it would make sense to do it in English first. But of course, I have planned to do it on the French market at the same time, or about the same time. It's just a matter of securing the rights, because when you do it in America, if you're doing with the right publishers, or you will retain everything, your rights. In Europe, it's different. You have to work with someone. You have to work with a publisher who also has his say in the results and stuff. And I don't want anybody to have to talk about. Of course, working.
And they want the multimedia rights for everything.
Yeah, everything like that. I would prefer to hire myself a freelance editor.
Yeah,
work with me and check stuff. And especially with the language, because I'm French, obviously, so we'll need someone to make it sound like real people in American.
There's a big market of really good editors right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like 5 years ago. Right now, There's a big market, where you can go and select who is the guy that is the good editor for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I already know a few of them that I would love to work. Some of them are not available right now, but they might be in the future.
Yeah,
I've talked to them. They know who they are. So we'll see. It has to be someone you trust and you've worked with, because there's so much trust issues in this industry. But yeah, being in France, I will need someone over there, being able to talk to the retailers and everything. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hi, Murphy Dog. No, I'm not saying who you are. Angel Perez. Speaking of Conan, I've seen BD albums that have started to appear. Have you read them? Which is the different perspective that BD can show for Conan that is different from Conan in American comics?
Oh yeah, he's talking about the Glenna books, right? Yeah. The book that they've been doing. It's very different. First of all, it's not the same artists and writers on each book. So even between the French books, there's massive differences in the treatment. But first of all, I would say the size is different. So it's French size, big albums. So the composition, the layout design will be different. There's going to be much more panels and different production value that you can understand as better production value, better coloring and stuff like that. From the stuff I've seen, they try to be closer to the novels, whereas in America they are trying to find their own voice on the series. So it's
mostly because in America they've adapted the novels like 15 million times already.
yeah, and they did great jobs. I mean, the Buscema, Carrie Nords, and Busiek did some very, very fine work. So, but I think they're also they have more freedom in terms of styles. When you see the book that Didier Casgrain did with Olivier Vatine, fully painted work with more, I would say, animated style, stuff like that. You wouldn't see that on the Marvel monthly series. Yeah, that's kind of differences that you would see between about anything in France and America. But I would say, yeah, probably the production value and storytelling are very, very different.
Who has influenced you as an artist, and who's still influencing you right now?
Artists?
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, Adam Hughes is still a god. He's such a humble guy also, which is even better. I mean, I love him even more for that. This guy always improves his art. He never stops working and improving. So this is something that you have to admire. That and him being so much better than everybody else. But I mean, people like my friend, like Mahmoud, is amazing. His work on Conan is such a step up compared to what he was doing, which was already great before.
And the covers he's painting and all that. He's a beast.
Oh yeah, he's such a great guy, such a great artist. Pepe Larraz is amazing, so dynamic. I mean, I'm not even talking about the old guys. I have to just talk about the new guys because there's so many. Yeah, I love Sauce. I love. She's not really an influence as much as a something that I really adore. Margot Sauvage, a French artist. I mean, her composition, the coloring, everything is so good. I mean, she should be a superstar right now. I can't understand why she's not bigger than what she is. I mean, she has tons of fans, and the editors love her. But I mean, Neil Gaiman, if you listen to this, you should hire Murray to draw your book.
She needs. I agree with you. She needs an evergreen. You know what I mean? She needs her book.
Yeah.
Still, she's been in a lot of stuff and a lot of amazing stuff. Everything she touches is gold, in my opinion. But I still haven't seen her book. The book that you say, this is Marguerite's, this is going to last forever.
Yeah.
This is going to happen, and I hope it happens.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But the moment it happens, that what you just said, she'll be the star she deserves. But it's just a matter of the evergreen book. You know, like 100 Bullets was for Eduardo Rizzo.
Yeah.
You know, that book that when you touch it, it's yours forever. And in terms of the guys who influenced you growing up?
Oh, so I said already Alan Davis a couple of times, but he's
you can say it. Alan Davis, you can say it 10 times and maybe he will show up, you know, like
Oh yeah, yeah. Alan Davis is he's such a big influence of me on me. I met him actually when I was 19, so a long time ago, when I was doing a fanzine, and I did an interview of him. And later, when I became professional, he remembered me. I came to him, and he remembered. So from then on, we stayed friends, and he's so generous with me. He's always been available. He understands that I'm a massive fan, and I need answers. I need to talk about stuff, and he's very, very patient with me. He's also very good. He's the kind of guy who theorize stuff. So he'll always have good reasons to do the things that he does, and he can explain them. So when I got back in touch with him, I was full grown up working for comics, and I was like listening to him and like the revelation. It was amazing listening to him explaining how he draws characters based on who they are inside, and you realize that's not bullshit like most artists. That's really true because I can see that. I can see what he's talking about. So this is true. So I learned a lot of things just talking to Alan. He's one of the smartest artists that I've been meeting in real life. Someone like there's people like Denis Bajram, also a French guy, is such a smart guy. He will always explain how to improve storytelling and stuff, and that stuff he really theorized. And it's difficult to do that because most of what we do is instinctual.
Yes.
Yeah, Alan is such a massive influence. Carlos Pacheco also is a big hero of mine. Paul Smith that I told you about, Barry Windsor Smith also. I mean, this guy is such art god for everybody. This is such vast subject because to us artists, this is.
Okay, I'm going to narrow it down and make your life miserable now. X-Men pick.
My favorite X-Men artist?
Pick between the ones I'm going to name. You can put them in order if you want. I don't care. Whatever you prefer. Paul Smith, John Romita Jr., John Byrne, Mark Silvestri, Paul Smith. Did I say Paul Smith already? Let me repeat. Paul Smith, Mark Silvestri, John Byrne, John Romita Jr. Who's the fifth I'm thinking about now? No, not Cockrum. Rick Leonardi. To make it even more difficult.
I'm such a big fan of Leonardi.
They know. Sorry. Something. I have something in my nose.
I'm gonna say Paul Smith because it's not my. I mean, he's not a superior artist, especially to the one you mentioned, but he's the one who had the most profound effect on me. He was the guy
that's why I thought you were going to say him first, because I can see the influence much.
Yeah. He's I mean, that's probably the guy who made me think I want to do that job. Really, I want to live in that world, the world that he's drawing. The gracefulness in his line work, storytelling is amazing. That's something that not as many people should. I mean, talk about it as they should, because his storytelling, when you see all the vertical panel that he would do, create the rhythm and stuff, that it's amazing. I remember reading that Barry Windsor Smith was very impressed with what Paul Smith was doing, and that is one of the reason why he came back to comics, to Marvel back then,
to do those X-Men issues. Yes,
yeah, and I can see that it was very, very different. And I still love that. And whenever I look at him, I'm like, this is the stuff he does as a storyteller is so modern. That's the kind of stuff he could do right now and make people go crazy.
Yes, I wouldn't say him as number one because I have other works of him that I love better than the X-Men. Like his Doctor Strange with Roger Stern, or even leave it to chance.
Leave It to Chance is amazing.
So both. So for me, it would be probably Silvestri, because I think that was when I started to realize how much I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But Arthur Adams, yes, Ivan, he says Arthur Adams, but I'm talking about guys who worked on the main title on that era. And I'm not mentioning Alan Davis because I know Alan Davis is number one for him, blah blah blah. So if I say Alan Davis, you're gonna say Alan Davis.
Yes.
Arthur Adams was in the annual, so it's a different animal. And do you want to put the rest of them in order?
Oh, in order? No, it's impossible. And there's also Arthur Adams that you didn't mention, but was a big artist, a big X-Men
I
artist.
was telling to Ivan in the chat, I was only mentioning the ones who were in the going book.
And Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Ah, come on. His Uncanny X-Men were amazing.
Yeah, I know, but it's not on my top 5. Probably because I was older already.
Yeah,
and,
I understand that.
And I also cared more about the story that I was being told.
Sure.
And the stories that were told during Jim's era, which was incredibly amazing, and I still think that probably the best work of his career, except for Hush, maybe. Those stories I didn't care that much about. But the stories that I was reading while,
growing up,
yes, Silvestri was doing. I still remember, those extra issues with the baseball, or the girls going to town, even if or the with Leonardo, those issues with Wolverine dying because of the healing factor and all that. I still remember them as stories. We were talking storytelling. The stories that Jim was doing, I didn't get that much about. So probably that's why I don't count them as that important. And of course, with Paul Smith, I remember the Asgardian, the Alpha Flight cover, and also the stories with Madeleine Pryor and all that. So it stays with you.
For sure,
Stays with you. That's why. What is it? That's why when Michael Golden asked me, what did I want years ago as a drawing, I asked him for this.
Doctor Strange, and Clea.
And Clea. I have to have Clea in the drawing. He was like, "Oh, but you don't want Doctor Strange," and I was like, "I want Clea more because in my memory, what I remember is the Roger Stern stuff that him and Paul Smith did, that always had Doctor Strange and Clea in the picture. So it's the story. It's not the story. It's the whole package. So So for me, it's Paul Smith, it's Silvestri, it's John Byrne, but it's because of that, because those stories have stayed with me.
For sure,
But yeah, Arthur Adams. But
he's a genius.
You have to leave in 5 minutes, so one final thing. If you were told right now, pick a character, Marvel or DC or whatever company, and you can tell the story you want as writer, artist, colorist, what would you pick? Let me call Rebirth, so he's on the speaker.
He's very good to me, Tom.
I know.
I mentioned something that I really want to do. The next offer that he makes is generally that stuff. So I would probably go with I know I did it already, but I would go with Captain America in World War II.
Why not? If you love it,
I love it, and I've been doing that. I mean, I think the last 3 projects that I did began with a sequence with Captain America in World War II, Black Panther, Tarot, and Generation. So I did that, but I would do a full book, probably in France, set in France. And I would love to do that in color. That's something I would really do something crazy.
But that all makes sense. It's like when people ask why Garth Ennis goes back to do war books. And when I was talking to him, he literally said, people grew up reading superhero comics. I grew up reading war comics.
Yeah. So
that's what I read when I was a kid. There was no good superhero, distribution of those books in Ireland when I lived. So I had those war books. So that's my go-to thing.
Yeah.
So for you go to think is Captain America and World War II. Yeah, go.
Well, yeah, there's a big culture of historical comics in France. So
Oh,
yeah, I read a lot of stuff like that, and western and pirates and stuff. So when I try to think big, I generally go to that kind of stuff more than superheroes. I love to do those, but it's more difficult to think about something, big spectacle. You immediately, I think about that many characters that we have to deal with bright costumes and stuff. So it kind of drive you to go to what has been done and what is being done. So what I try to do is think of what I can bring to the game, and so Captain America during the war would be something that I think I could do. I could do something new and original.
Captain America in Normandy.
Yeah, well, not Normandy because he was not there, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, more or less, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And with Bucky or no Bucky?
Yeah, sure, Bucky.
Okay.
Everything.
The whole package.
Yeah. Well, the invaders.
Oh, that's also true. You can have Namor and all that. Why not?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so it's 6:27. I know you have an appointment at 6:30.
Yeah.
So we gotta leave it here. So Ivane first says, "Oh, a World War II story with Captain America in Toulouse."
Yeah, well,
Have to be
sure.
to make it even more specific in front of his house. Stop it. Anyway, thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Thank you very much, Paul. Please don't cut because I want to say proper goodbye to you after I cut the feed.
Sure, of course.
We can say goodbye to everybody now. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, David.
And tomorrow with us, Raiko Pulido and Víctor Puchalski. Con nosotros en español, Raiko Pulido. Ya sabéis que los jueves es en español, Raiko Pulido y Víctor Puchalski. Cuidaros. Take care. Wear your mask. Don't be assholes.
Yes, please.
And see you all tomorrow. We are out in 3, 2, 1, off.